Hi, this is Walt Mossberg, personal technology columnist for the Wall Street Journal. And for the past few days, I've been testing Apple's newest computer, its first sub-notebook computer called the MacBook Air. Now, this is billed as the thinnest laptop ever made, and it is extraordinarily thin. In fact, it's difficult to describe just how surprising this feels in your hands. But there are some trade-offs for making a sub-notebook, that is a computer that weighs 3 pounds or less, that is this thin, and yet has the kind of screen and keyboard that Apple has built into this machine. And those trade-offs may determine whether this is the right machine for you. Now, what do I mean when I talk about the kind of screen and keyboard they've built in? Most sub-notebook computers achieve their weight, in part at least, by shrinking the screen and shrinking the keyboard, which allows them to shrink the overall footprint of the machine. Most sub-notebooks have screens of 10, 11, or 12 inches, and the keyboards are kind of compressed. Apple decided from the get-go on this machine that it wouldn't compromise on screen and keyboard, and so the MacBook Air has a 13.3-inch screen, just like the regular MacBook laptop and a lot of other mid-sized laptops today. And it has a full-size keyboard with the keys comfortably spaced one from each other. That makes it quite different from any other sub-notebook I've tested. Apple also went for extreme thinness. The thickest point of this MacBook Air is only about 3/4 of an inch, and that's slimmer than the thinnest point on some other sub-notebooks. But then there are those trade-offs. You don't get those things without giving up some other things. And the things Apple has given up to make a full screen, full keyboard, very thin machine may just be deal killers for some frequent travelers. Number one, there's no removable battery in this machine. So if you're somebody that carries spare batteries with you when you travel, this is not the machine for you. I personally never carry spare batteries. I buy them and then I forget to charge them and I never take them. And I've talked to a number of other frequent travelers who are like that. So it wouldn't bother me too much, but I know that there are many other people who rely on spare batteries, and that's a big factor in this machine. It also has no Ethernet port and no standard slot for an external cell phone modem, and no built-in cell phone modem. So out of the box, the MacBook Air, which costs $1,800 and will be available next week, has only one way to get on the internet, and that is through its Wi-Fi N built-in wireless networking capability, which is very fast if you're in a hotspot, but if you're not near a hotspot and you don't buy some extra stuff for this computer, you're stuck. There's no way to get on the internet. Now, there is extra stuff available. For $30, Apple will sell you an Ethernet dongle that plugs into the USB port on the computer and will allow you to plug in a wired Ethernet connection. And the cell phone companies all now offer cell phone modems that plug in via USB. But those are extra cost and extra things to carry. And there's another catch. The MacBook Air has only one USB port. So if you're going to plug in a cell phone modem or plug in an Ethernet dongle or an iPod or a flash drive or anything, you're going to be swapping those in and out unless you buy yet another little thing to carry around, which is a tiny USB hub. They're not very expensive, they're not very big, but there is something additional there to carry around. In my tests of the MacBook Air, it ran very speedily, and the big screen and keyboard were really a pleasure to work with in a machine this light and this thin. It handled everything I threw at it. I was even able to install Windows XP on the machine, as you can on all new Macs, using a third-party program called Parallels, and it worked fine. Apple has even built in a clever trick in this MacBook Air. To make up for the lack of a DVD drive, because it does not have a DVD drive, it lets you borrow the DVD drive from any other computer on your network, even a Windows computer, using some special software that comes with the machine. With these borrowed drives, which show up on your MacBook Air just as if they were internal to the computer, you can install software and you can copy files. You can't play music, you can't play movies, and you can't install Windows or Windows programs using that. For those kinds of tasks, you're going to need a external CD, DVD drive, and Apple does sell one of those for $99. Now, I also ran a battery test on this machine, which is especially important, I think, because it does have a sealed battery that you can't replace with a spare on the fly. And in my battery test, which is a harsh one, this machine did very well. The way I test batteries on all laptops is I turn off all the power-saving software, I crank the screen up to maximum brightness, I keep the Wi-Fi turned on, and I play an endless loop of music. And in this test, the MacBook Air got 3 hours and 24 minutes. And that suggests to me that in normal use you could get 4.5 hours, maybe even a little more. Apple is claiming up to 5 hours for this machine, and so I think you'd probably come close to that. In my opinion, given my particular style of traveling, that's probably enough juice to last on a coast-to-coast domestic flight here in the U.S. It's obviously not enough if you expect to do a lot of work between here and, say, Tokyo or somewhere in the Middle East. But then again, a lot of the new airplanes have a way to plug your laptop in. So the MacBook Air is a beautiful machine, and it is quite an unusual sub-notebook. But whether it's right for you depends on what features you value the most when you travel. If you would like, in a light machine, to have a bigger than usual screen and a bigger than usual keyboard, and you don't so much mind the other things it lacks, then this could be the machine for you. But if you gotta have spare batteries, if you like to watch DVDs on the plane, if you really want the usual array of ports and connectors that Apple left off this machine, this is not the sub-notebook for you to buy. This is Walt Mossberg, and I'll see you next week.